The night was heavy with rain, droplets streaming down the windows in restless patterns, and the storm outside echoed the storm inside me. I hadn't planned for any of it. Sometimes desire slips through the cracks when you least expect it. I was standing in the kitchen, the dim light of a single lamp casting a soft glow across the counters, when the knock came at the door. It was him. My tenant. Young, restless, with eyes that always seemed to linger too long on me, and yet, there was a gentleness in them that I could never ignore. He stood on the porch soaked from the storm, hair plastered against his forehead, his shirt clinging to his chest. For a moment, I hesitated. I knew I shouldn't. But loneliness can be louder than logic. "Come in," I whispered, my voice softer than the rain. When he stepped inside, shaking water from his sleeves, the air between us shifted. The warmth of the room wrapped around him, and so did my gaze. I tried not to look too closely, but my eyes betrayed me, drawn to the way his shirt clung to him, to the youth and strength written into his frame. "I didn't mean to bother you," he said quietly, his voice deep but hesitant. The power went out in my place. I thought maybe. He didn't need to finish. I could hear the need beneath his words, see it in the way he avoided my eyes yet kept stealing glances. "You're not a bother," I said, and even I could hear the tremble in my voice. I went to fetch a towel, but before I could hand it to him, his fingers brushed mine. The contact was electric, simple yet unbearable, a spark that ran straight through me. I froze, staring up into his eyes. He looked back with a mixture of apology and hunger, as though he wanted to say he shouldn't, but couldn't resist. The rain hammered harder against the glass, and in that cocoon of sound, our silence was louder than anything. He reached up, slowly, testing, brushing a damp strand of hair away from my cheek. My breath caught. I knew what was about to happen, and every voice in my head told me to step back. But my body moved forward. Our lips met like a confession, sudden yet inevitable. The kiss was soft at first, hesitant, as if we both feared the world might collapse around us if we dared too much. But when I felt his hand at the small of my back, drawing me closer, the restraint cracked. The kiss deepened, heat pouring into it, the loneliness of so many nights dissolving in a single reckless moment. I pulled back only to breathe, my lips trembling, my chest rising fast. "We shouldn't," I murmured, though my hands betrayed me, clutching at his damp shirt, unwilling to let go. His eyes searched mine, burning, vulnerable. "Then tell me to leave," he whispered. But I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I leaned in again, claiming his mouth with mine, desperate, surrendering to the storm inside. We stumbled backward, laughter breaking between kisses, nervous and hungry all at once. The towel dropped forgotten to the floor. He pressed me gently against the wall, his lips trailing down to my jaw, his breath warm against my skin. I closed my eyes and let myself feel it, the forbidden sweetness of being wanted, the way his touch erased the loneliness I'd carried for so long. The room grew hotter despite the storm outside. His hands slid across my waist, pulling me closer, grounding me in the moment. My fingers tangled in his damp hair, tugging lightly, drawing soft sounds from him that sent shivers through me. Every inch of space between us dissolved until there was nothing but skin, breath, and the unspoken truth. We both wanted this, even if we couldn't name it. "Stay tonight," I whispered before I could stop myself. The words hung between us, fragile and daring. He pulled back just enough to look into my eyes, his chest rising fast, his lips swollen from kissing. "Are you sure?" I nodded, even as my heart raced. Because no matter the consequences, no matter the risks, I knew the truth in that moment. Letting him in had already changed everything. The air between us felt charged, thick with the weight of everything we weren't supposed to feel. He stood there, dripping from the rain, his hand still at my waist as though afraid I might change my mind. But I didn't want him to let go. I didn't want the night to end with silence and regret. I took his hand and led him toward the living room. The storm rattled the windows, but inside, the world seemed hushed, lit only by the warm glow of a single candle. Shadows danced across the walls as we sank into the couch, still close enough that every brush of his arm against mine sent shivers racing up my skin. I leaned back, watching him, memorizing the way his chest rose and fell as he tried to steady himself. He was younger, yes, but there was something in the way he looked at me, like I was the only person who mattered in that moment. That made me forget everything else. "You're staring," I teased softly, my lips curving into the faintest smile. "Can you blame me?" he answered, his voice husky, almost reverent. I laughed quietly, but it was cut short when he reached for me again, pulling me into another kiss. This one was different, not hesitant, not unsure, but certain. His mouth was hot against mine, urgent yet tender, like he had been waiting for this far longer than he'd admit. The kiss turned deeper, my fingers clutching at his shirt until I finally tugged it upward. He broke away just long enough to pull the damp fabric over his head, and I gasped softly as my eyes roamed over him. His body was sculpted with youth and strength, droplets of rain still clinging to his skin, glistening in the candlelight. I traced my hand down his chest, feeling the warmth beneath my fingertips, and he shivered at the touch. His hands found me too, sliding over my arms, my shoulders, down my back as though he wanted to memorize every inch of me. It wasn't just hunger. It was need, raw and undeniable. "Tell me if it's too much," he whispered, his forehead pressed to mine. I shook my head, my lips brushing his. "Don't stop." We lost ourselves in each other then, in kisses that grew hungrier, in touches that spoke of everything we'd been holding back. The storm outside faded into nothing, replaced by the sound of our breathing, the rhythm of our hearts racing together. I pulled him closer, my body arching into his, and he held me as though I might slip away if he loosened his grip. His mouth traveled from my lips to my neck, leaving a trail of heat that made me gasp. My fingers tangled in his hair, urging him closer, surrendering to every sensation. Time became meaningless. All I knew was the feel of his hands, the press of his body against mine, the way he whispered my name like it was sacred. We moved together slowly at first, savoring, exploring, learning each other's rhythms. But soon the restraint gave way to urgency, and we surrendered fully, completely, to the storm that had been building between us for so long. When at last we collapsed against the couch cushions, tangled in each other's arms, the candle flickering low, I felt a stillness settle over us. My chest rose and fell rapidly, my skin warm and flushed, but inside, there was a quiet I hadn't felt in years. He stroked my hair back gently, his lips brushing my temple. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he whispered, "but I don't regret it." I closed my eyes, pressing closer to him, my hand resting against his heart. "Neither do I confessed, though the truth of those words terrified me, because I knew this wasn't supposed to happen. I knew the world outside that stormy night would judge us, would call it wrong. But in his arms, with the storm still raging outside, it didn't feel wrong at all. It felt like the most natural thing in the world. We stayed like that for what felt like forever, whispering, kissing, dozing in each other's warmth as the storm slowly began to fade. When I finally stirred, I realized the rain had stopped. The world outside was quiet again, but inside me, everything had changed. I glanced at him, sleeping lightly beside me, his face softened in the glow of the dying candle. My chest ached at the sight. I knew nothing would ever be the same. I had let him in, not just into my home, but into my heart. And there was no going back.
Watching my channel, like and share. Thank you so much.